On this podcast, we talk about different areas of business and all things marketing. My name is Dave Doyle.
And I'm Dave Alton, and this is Social Antics, another marketing podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Social Antics. Dave, how are you?
Ill-prepared predominantly for this, to be honest with you, but we'll drive on.
As opposed to every other week.
I am usually very well prepared, and you're the one who's ill-prepared. I am completely ill-prepared. Don't know what we're going to talk about, but I do have a quiz for you later on.
You got such a buzz off last week, wasn't it?
I did, yeah.
We done well with your quiz last week, alright, yeah. So, what's happened to you this week?
This week I have done, absolutely fuck all, because I was sick for the majority of last week at the back end after doing the podcast. Went out for a few drinks at the weekend, and I'm not feeling fucking great now, to be honest with you.
Didn't work,
absolute fuck all.
Well, I'm driving into what have we got for this week? Actually, before you do, what did you bring us this week?
This week we have Kinigar, which is a farmhouse beer from Donegal, and there isn't much to describe on the side of it like we usually do. You know, they have all the kind of funny stuff. This one merely says, the brewery is named after the beach beside its birthplace, just north of Rathmullen in County Donegal in Ireland, on Ireland's Wild Atlantic Way. Thumping hop flavours and aromas inspire our double IPA's name, Thumper. Now, the reason that I picked out this for this week is it brought back traumatic childhood experiences. Remember Thumper?
Oh, in
Bambi.
Yeah,
the most traumatic show to show a child. It was my first brush with death, really. It was Bambi. When the mother went out and she got shot by those bastards in the fucking meadow. I couldn't sleep for weeks afterwards. Fucking traumatic.
The cans are phenomenal. In fairness to them, they're doing a great job on the artwork on the front. It says it there on the bottom. Who is it? Dermot Flynn. DermotFlynn.com. Shout out to Dermot. He illustrated all the Kinigar, which is their kind of little world that they've come up with all these animals on it.
They like little drawing worlds, don't they, the craft brewers?
They are, yeah. They're all very artistic, a lot of them. But no, it's fantastic. I have a Hazy Session Ipa, which the colour now is, we got a bit of a shock when we poured it out. All right, it's a bit bright.
That's what hazy beers look like.
My one is a refreshing tropical fruit mingles with citrus, coconut, and perhaps a hint of pine. There you go now. Very
lovely.
Fancy. Very fancy.
That, I must say, it's a very drinkable double IPA. 8.2, 7 point something, whatever it is anyway.
2 cans in the one, efficient.
Very, very drinkable. It's good.
Very good. So what's happening in the world of business marketing that you spotted this week?
So the main one, I suppose, is just to go back on the on what we were discussing a number of weeks ago, which is Elon Musk and his potential Twitter takeover, which has been delayed, stalled, postponed, whatever you want to put it. And as a lot of analysts predicted, he shouldn't take it over. It doesn't make any sense that he would take it over. And now he's trying to kind of, given that he's woken up from his whatever drug-induced 40 billion euro takeover, he's wondering, why the fuck did I get into this deal in the first place, basically. So the excuse that he's using at the moment is that he wants Twitter to prove that less than 5% of their users are bots. Which, fine, but that's before you go and buy it. You do your due diligence. And beyond that, that's not the main problem here with Twitter as an overall business in their business. So, of all the things that there is an issue with here, that is such left of field that it is just clearly bullshit.
It's not the bots that are causing the issues. Yeah.
He's looking for a way to get out of the deal, and that's patently obvious.
Yeah, as you said, that's the sort of stuff that you kind of declare, look into before you go and make a big deal like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think it will happen, but I don't know. I think it's going to be a very drawn out process by the way it's going.
But it doesn't make any sense now, right? So since he's taken over, Twitter stock price has dropped by 30%. So the 40 billion that he's pledged is now worth only 70% of that. So he's buying something at a 30% premium effectively, which for a 40 billion quid buy is quite a lot of money. It's not like going down to the Tesco and getting the 2 for 1. Like it's a few pound that you're down if it's already gone down by 30%.
Some business plan, I'd say, walking into the investors saying, "Here, this is what I plan to do."
But so this is the problem now, right? Because even beyond that, So one, in the purchase agreement that he signed, which is available for people to look at, there's been I haven't read it myself, but there's been analysis done on it. And they basically said that because of the way that he took them over, which is basically kind of like a hostile, very, very aggressive takeover, he basically waived his right to any due diligence. So that means that you're not allowed to come back now and start quizzing the different bits, and because you bought it, mate. That's basically what it is. So what people are basically saying now, or what analysts are speculating, is either one, he's going to look for a reduction on the initial price, which if the Twitter board agreed to, they look incredibly incompetent. Or he's going to try and avoid the $1 billion fine that he will receive if he breaches the agreement of the deal. Yeah. So that's basically where that's kind of at the moment. Now, I suppose there's a few things here which is really, really important, right? So even though the shares have fallen by 30%, shares have fallen with a lot of tech companies in the last kind of number of weeks or so. And the same with cryptocurrencies and so on and so forth. The major thing here is that Twitter's board have effectively, by letting Musk take over, they've effectively already said to the market that this guy can do a better job at increasing shareholder value than we can as a board, or that we can as a leadership team. So therefore, if he then doesn't take it over, you're essentially giving control of the company back to a board that didn't back themselves to begin with, which obviously will have a negative impact on the share price, which will have a negative impact on the current shareholders who are going to be left with this story stock effectively that has a really, really bad story behind it. So like, there's loads of different things, and we've spoken about them in terms that you can do with Twitter. The advertising model is terrible. There's a huge amount of bots on the platform. I saw earlier on today, our health minister put out a tweet about the new maternity hospital, and within 15 minutes, it had 200 retweets. Click on those retweets, all bots. Absolutely all of them. So the place is crawling with bots. We know that. But as a place whereby there are a certain cohort who have absolute shareholder value, like Elon Musk and their ability to generate, or his ability to generate good PR for Tesla, or anyone over kind of 100,000 followers, really, they're able to drive a huge amount of value from Twitter, and then everyone else drives a huge amount of value from Twitter through news. It's still a great platform. But at the moment, it looks like it could actually be killed off.
But even in terms of users and the value and getting people back onto the app, like, we know that Twitter was definitely much in decline until a certain president in America at the time was going for election and started tweeting out random shite. So basically drove the users back up. People were joining just to see what he was saying. Musk has come out and said that he's going through, he came out publicly and said, I'm going to put him back on the platform. I'm going to remove the ban. So, like, if that does happen, obviously you have to wait till he actually buys the thing and puts him back onto the platform. But that will drive back up users again, because people will be back on to watch him and see what he's going to toilet tweet today.
Yeah, just in time for his presidential bid for 2020. I don't know when it is.
Yeah, whenever the next one. He'll go for it.
4, 5, maybe. Oh, absolutely, 100%. But that's kind of where it's at in terms of that overall takeover. So at the moment, it looks like a mess. It's going to be protracted. It's going to be drawn out. Huge amount of uncertainty for the leadership team, huge amount of uncertainty for the board. You would imagine that while this is going on, there won't be any real innovations going on. Obviously, they're going to keep on developing the platform, but slowly there's going to be no real change to it.
They're not going to pump money into it. Like, they don't know what's going to happen.
So, yeah, no, it's just a fucking mess, basically, which is what we kind of said it probably would be a number of weeks ago. What a number of analysts said as well. It's just not, it doesn't make sense. And interestingly enough, as soon as Musk said that he was going to purchase Twitter, Tesla stock went down. As soon as he said during the week that he was considering not buying it because of this bot issue, Tesla stock went straight back up.
It's amazing how these things happen, isn't it?
It doesn't make any fucking sense why he would buy it in the first place. People, shareholders in Tesla, want Elon Musk looking after Tesla.
Yeah. Not off with notions.
Not being involved in communications. This is a very drinkable 6.8. Or 7.8. I don't say that much.
It's not bad. To be honest, you know me, I'd normally go for an IPA or a red ale. This one now, this will take a while to grow on me, I'd say, this one.
The hazy, is it?
It is, yeah. It says very kind of bitty, I suppose, and citrusy, but
I like myself a hazy IPA. I must say, yeah.
But you've got notions.
I might try. I might try that. I might try that later.
Do. So speaking of famous CEOs and making a mess of their companies. Did you read the article I sent you this week on CEOs being an underutilized tool in businesses?
I did, Dave, and you know that I did because we were talking about it in the running order before the script. But anyway, let's try and fool the audience. And anyway,
I sent it to you.
Did you read that? Oh yes, Dave. I happened to read this random article that happened on this random website. Yeah, I did.
That's the way you wanted me to bring it in, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was my research as well that brought this up as well because you didn't fucking do anything. But anyway, so what the article, which was published on Marketing Week this week, naturally, said that CEOs as brand promoters were basically underutilized. So basically what it says is that new research showed a strong correlation between the personal reputation of CEOs and that of their brands, particularly in founder-led businesses. However, they can also be a reputational liability. Now, that's kind of obvious, right? A lot of people kind of knew that already, but it kind of goes into a little bit more detail in terms of the analysis in and of itself. So Brand Finance, which was the company that conducted the survey, tracked the personal reputation of the world's top CEOs with a survey of 1,000 analysts and journalists, and then cross-referenced that survey and what people said about these particular CEOs with its global brand equity monitor. So then it basically gauged or matched and correlated public opinion with where a brand fell on their overall index, and that program itself tracks over 4,000 brands. So a pretty kind of a pretty
that's fairly
robust,
hefty now. What you're saying there,
robust kind of a tracker. So just to give an example, then, or a little kind of a mini case study. So Brewdog, as an example, which is a brand
James
that we
Watt,
like.
yeah.
So Mr. James Watt, their reputation score plummeted from 19.1 to just 1.6 in the aftermath of the accusations around their staff. And that's according to YouGov's brand health tracker brand index. And as of the 13th of May, that score has fallen further to minus 0.2 as Watt continues to find himself subjected to criticism in the national press. So that doesn't account for the thing that we were talking about a number of weeks ago around him bringing in the profit sharing and stuff like that. But it does show a direct correlation when you perform a regression analysis of brand reputation against whatever index you're using and the reputation of the founder CEO.
But I think that's where that's probably coming a lot from. I think we spoke it back before we done this setup, but we spoke about there was issues with previous staff taking cases against them, or basically just coming out and bad mouthing them in a sense. But I suppose when you look at the whole area of the CEO, if you have a public profile like James Watt or any other, like Elon Musk, Richard Branson, any of these kind of CEOs who don't just hide behind the company name, they push themselves out there to the forefront of it and have just as big of a brand as the brand, sometimes the business themselves. But like, he is going to take a bashing for something that he done personally, but the whole brand then is going to take a bashing as well.
Oh yeah,
maybe.
absolutely, yeah.
And that's, as you already said, it can be a great tool, but it can be huge risk. If Elon Musk takes notion, goes off and wants to buy a huge company, Tesla's going to take a bashing for it, as you've already said.
Well, you see, it depends then, because then it depends on what. So everyone's opinion of someone's reputation is going to be different. A lot of people see Elon Musk as. So let's take Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, by all accounts, I never met the man. I don't know the man at all. But by all accounts, he was a fucking asshole to his employees, staff, etc. But people loved him because, as far as they were concerned, he was Jesus Christ of, whatever you want to call it, I'm robbing this phrase, but the Jesus Christ of the innovation economy, or he was the creator. He was the kind of iconic founder of one of those iconic brands. So therefore, it didn't matter whether he operated a complete scorched earth policy or not in terms of how he treated people. People just saw him as this almost godlike mythical figure who was creating this incredible brand, which people latched onto almost in cultish type fashion, So I think reputation there again is a kind of a funny one, because again, James Watt would in the press be seen as someone who has quite a negative reputation. I actually think I don't really have an issue with him myself personally in terms of what he has achieved, trying to achieve, and what he's doing with his overall brand. There are other CEOs that I would have a big issue with. So Richard Branson, for example, is one of them, because for the last 2 years, pretty much, when you take some of the biggest companies in the world, so Amazon, Virgin,
are you going to go on now the whole space race kind
Yeah,
of a thing.
that's exactly what I'm going on about.
No,
So
and I would agree with you. I think it's ridiculous.
it's ridiculous at a time whereby you needed vaccines distributed all over the world. You needed the best brains to find out ways of freezing, maintaining, distributing, creating global supply chains that were going to get us out of that COVID mess so that Dave could go back to the pub quicker. And instead of focusing on that, they decided, nah, let's not bother with the pandemic. Let's build
the
rockets and
rockets.
go to fucking space instead. That's not what
with me and a bunch of my friends.
Exactly, that's not what leadership is. That's not a thing. So even though people see Branson as this kind of, cheeky, chappy, British, and he does a lot of philanthropic work, I just thought when it came to the big issues, I was like, what are you doing, man? Do you know what I mean? Now I know they'll probably say, oh no, this is a big issue because we're all going to live in Mars in the next 50 years. My bollocks.
I think it was brilliant though. Even a lot of the actors and stuff coming out in interviews saying they're fucking Egypts basically. Like it was absolutely
100%.
brilliant. When he's reminding me there, I went on a buzz there a couple of weeks ago of watching old interviews with Michael O'Leary from Ryanair.
Love Michael O'Leary.
And I've literally watching back his old interviews, and he is phenomenal. Like he just knows how to handle an interview, knows how to handle the questions. Like but I can see going on your robust analyst scale there how it could be detrimental to a company, but how he's always stayed true to his word no matter what. He's always stuck by exactly what he meant. And I would imagine, similarly, James Watt now and Brewdog, exactly the same. They stick by that they're there to do what they're there to do, sell beer, really good beer, but also help the environment, I suppose, along the way, whereas other CEOs, I suppose, can hop in and out when they want, when they need a bit of good PR or...
That's the thing that kind of frustrates me the most, is that I don't particularly... Like, a brand is a brand, right? It's a made-up thing by a combination of the CEO, the marketing department, and how the consumers perceive a particular brand at any particular moment in time, is how a brand is kind of created or constructed. It's not real. It's all superficial. Whereas a CEO's actions and what he says are real.
Yes.
So what really, really infuriates me is that when a brand says one thing, but then their CEO does something entirely differently, because then the branding is just that. It is more superficial than branding is in and of itself.
Such a guidelines in the book, and that's it.
Exactly, that's what it is. So, like, when you hear of the best examples of this is Sheryl Sandberg. So whatever she is now, COO or whatever she is of Facebook. And she went around and did her book on overcoming a lot as a woman in business and all that kind of stuff. Well, boo-hoo, fucking Cheryl. You're in charge of one of the most toxic platforms in the fucking world, and you've done nothing about it. And again, not to go into it again, but increasing teen suicide, people scrolling through Instagram feeling depressed all the time, them doing absolutely nothing about it, them allowing their platforms to be hijacked for elections, all this kind of stuff. You are putting forward this vision of yourself as a sort of revolutionary or someone who cares about equality and all these different things when your users are literally suffering from using your platform. That's what I hate about it. It's greenwashing effectively between the CEO and the brand that they actually say that they represent. So
what's your thoughts actually on Bill Gates?
I don't have one, to be honest with you.
With all, like, once again, kind of, he's had a good and bad reputations in terms of certain areas, and obviously split up with the wife recently, but he is doing so much work in terms of...
That's a common... The splitting up with that's a common thing, though, because if you're so driven to build a company like that, your relationship just has to... it has to.
But the whole foundation... He's doing well for himself now, isn't he? But the foundation side of it, that Bill Gates do... like all this work abroad in third world countries and stuff, and looking into, like, I think they focus very heavily on sewage systems or something like that, but they do a lot of work in that area. But like that now, he's always stuck to this one area for as long as I can remember, and he's trying to clear this whole area, and that's it. He doesn't chop and change into different areas, which is what I like. Whatever the reputation, that's what I like about him.
Yeah, no, to be honest with you, I wouldn't have much of an opinion on Bill Gates. Again, he's old school. I wouldn't follow him, and as well as that too, nowadays he's not really in the public that often.
So he's
and
too busy getting rid of the sewage system.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I wouldn't be tracking him that much. But more like some of the more contemporary ones now. So, what's his name? The guy with Disney who is Chapek. So he took over from Bob Iger at the start of COVID. And there was a huge issue there because Bob Iger was seen as this very, very inspirational leader. And then,
old school Disney, basically.
oh yeah, but I mean, so JPEG took over, but then there was the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, which is basically where they were kind of, I don't know the exact details of it now, but it was almost like don't ask, don't tell in the military, but in schools in Florida, which is like very, very archaic, and the Republicans are doing a great job at rolling back all sorts of progress that
I don't
country
have enough
has
time
made
to go into that now.
the last 30 years or so. But again, the problem is that Florida obviously being synonymous with Disney, and Disney have a huge pull there in terms of politics, infrastructure, etc. And JPEG didn't do anything about it in the initial phases. And because of that, people are kind of criticizing, going, well, hang on, this is all going on in your backyard, and you're not backing it despite the fact that, or you're not going against it despite the fact that Disney is meant to be the most inclusive brand in the world, kind of a thing. Do you know what I mean? So,
but when it gets to that stage, then you have CEOs or any brands hopping on it, then it's like that. It's not a mix of reactive marketing in a bad sense, but also the whole area we talked before about, like the woke side of it. I'm getting on because I have to, because everyone else is doing this, or I'm being pressured to do it, or whatever.
Yeah, but that's not woke though. Because
no, it's not. But that's what I mean. It's kind of that in between. But like they kind of feel like they have to because everyone else is doing it, or there's so much pressure.
But no one else was. That's the point.
Okay.
Because it was in Florida, and Florida is Disney. Disney is Florida.
Disneyland.
So there's a big difference between
Disneyland.
Disney, whatever. There's a big difference between something like that, which is politics, and there's an actual output, and you going against a governor looking to put a law through, which is very, very archaic, versus you just creating an ad, which is very, very pro LGBT. Like, as I always say, if you are doing something like that, there has to be some level of risk to your organization. Otherwise, it's meaningless, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? If it's not controversial, then you're not backing anything. You're just supporting.
You're just giving a check.
Anyway. Exactly. So like, and that goes back to the core point that I make, that these brands, if they actually stand for something, they need to stand for it in every single instance of it, as opposed to, again, creating this mythical brand which says it stands for everything, but in practicality doesn't do anything about it when it's asked. So that's where I think, and again, brands are powerful. Like, Disney is a powerful fucking organization. Despite the trauma that Bambi caused me as a young fella, as we discussed earlier on, they're a very, very powerful.
I thought you got over it by now.
I know, no. The worst one, actually, just complete sidebar here. The worst one, and it's I was going to say wabbits, or rabbits.
What's over here?
Your man who goes hunting.
Oh, for wabbit, Looney Tunes, isn't it?
Yeah. What's your man's name?
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, producer. We had the notes there.
He's quick on Google, isn't he?
Fucking wabbits. Did you ever see Watership Down?
Yes,
that
I have.
is
That's
the
a tragic
most
film.
Traumatic films you can watch. Anyone with kids, show them Watership Down the next time they do something bad.
Yeah, that's
and
punishment
they'll be
grounded.
traumatized afterwards. But so what are we talking about? Gay rights in Disney, right?
Go back
so ultimately,
so
again,
that's where if someone tunes into us in the middle of it, like that's where we get ourselves in trouble.
This is where we don't have a script at this point in this point of the pod. But look, the point here is that, and look, for some brands it's more difficult. So if you take Brian Chesky, who I would
Airbnb, yeah.
So an incredibly innovative, admirable CEO in terms of what he's been able to create. So he's managed to cultivate a global brand that also needed international and local audiences, which is an incredibly difficult thing for any brand to do. So he's done that. Now, he has done a huge amount, even just recently, right? But he's done this since the inception of Airbnb, whereby they're partnering with a lot of refugee organizations to house people from Ukraine.
Yeah.
So that's a brilliant thing, and that's an example of a brand that they have access to housing. There is a housing crisis. There's a refugee crisis. We are going to step in here and we are going to solve the problem. So it's capitalism solving the problem effectively, which is.
I actually loved. I seen the amount of. I seen good and bad press for it. It was when Ukraine started. The amount of people that were kind of lobbying to pay for rooms in Ukraine or pay for houses in Ukraine on Airbnb, and send people money to people that need it in Ukraine and all this. And there were people coming out saying that if someone happens to have a second house or a third house in Ukraine that are able to rent it, they probably don't need the money. There's other people to be helping Ukraine. There's all arguments for and against it. Like,
this is a bit of a fucking people are people. Look, in any of those kind of social campaigns, people do erratic things like that without really thinking it through. But look, again, it's what happens
Yeah.
in something as serious as that, right? But like, to go back to Airbnb, so that's an example of a good thing that they're doing. And again, it's them as a big capitalist organization using capitalism to solve a very, very bad, detrimental situation. But then at the same time, if you look at the recent data around the housing crisis in both Ireland, the UK, some other places across Europe, there is now a deficit of rental homes available to people, and a lot of that is being attributed to Airbnb, because if you can rent let's say in Dublin, for example, you could probably rent an Airbnb for 100 quid.
Yeah, cheaper. Yeah.
If your house, will say, is occupied for, let's say 10 nights maybe of a month, you probably
more than your
made
mortgage.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's more than the mortgage, and it's more than what you would get from renters, and depending on the part of Dublin and all the rest of it. But the point is, you can make more money from putting your house up as an Airbnb residence, and you also don't have the issue with your landlord issue. So if someone is staying home for a night, they're not going to give out that the washing machine isn't working, right? So there's that kind of element as well. So I think it's interesting that Airbnb are the cause of a huge amount of problems. They haven't really done anything to solve that yet, or they haven't really commented on it. But in a lot of other things, they have. So again, there are CEOs and they're put in tough positions, but they earn the big bucks, so they can be put in these tough positions and be asked and answer the very, very tough questions, right? So I think, to go back to the original point, it's very, very interesting to see that when we are talking about brands, and we often talk about advertising and products and influencers and word of mouth, we often don't talk about the leadership team, the CEO, and those are just a few examples that we've given there, whereby, no, it's really, really, really important.
But I think even going in on some of the ground level businesses, even some of the ones we would work with, it's one of the things we would always say is, if you have the chance to put a face out there, it might not be the CEO, but if you have a chance to put a person's face out there, get it out there. It'll become trustworthy. It'll become someone you connect to. It'll be a face when they're, walking into a store, into a meeting or whatever. It becomes someone that it becomes established with the brand. And that is a huge part that's overlooked by a lot of, in the SME kind of side of things, the small businesses, that they just don't do, because they're either afraid of the camera, they're afraid of putting themselves out there, they're afraid of, someone will think I'm doing well for myself.
And they're afraid it's not polished, whereas we'd prefer if it's not polished, right? Do you know what I mean? Because if it comes across as too polished, then it's fake. So like any of the brands that I would not any of them, but a lot of them would have a CEO that you would want to be front facing, not for everything, but for certain things. Because
some of them I wouldn't put them out the wheelie bins out the back.
But they have a certain, and again, I think particularly when talking about family businesses, or you're talking about founders of organizations, they are so passionate about their business and what they are trying to do that no matter what we do as marketers or social media managers, or in terms of content creators, you will never capture something as powerful as asking a CEO or a founder, why do you do what you do?
Yeah.
And if they articulate that in just a very, very raw, visceral way, that will make people fall in love with that brand more than, again, any of the other marketing tricks or anything like that.
But that goes back to what we talked about last week in terms of, the incentive side of things for staff that Brewdog decided to do. They you having a laugh?
What?
Fair play.
I've got my secret stash. I ain't driving. Grand.
No, that's what we get the taxis for.
That's it, yeah.
Fair play
if
to
there is
you.
any taxi company that would like to sponsor this podcast, then absolutely.
Happy days, yeah. No, fair play. Yeah, you hit that well now, in fairness to you. I can't remember what I was saying now. What was I saying?
You were talking about CEOs.
Oh, yeah, last week. Last week we said about the watch him pour this now, we make an absolute hames of it. That's why he normally is poured before the show.
For the audio listeners, I've just pulled a random can from behind the bar here, and Doyle is jealous. So ha ha ha.
I'll stick with mine. But we talked about last week about the incentive side of things, and I made a comment that no matter how much you incentivize any staff member or give them any sort of responsibility, no matter what, they are not the owner of the business. So like you just said, they're going to have a different way of speaking, they're going to have a different passion, they're going to talk about it a little bit different, and I just don't think you're ever going to get that from anyone that's only the founder, not even the CEO, because sometimes, as you already mentioned, CEO is someone brought in from the outside to run the company, but the actual founder of the company is the most powerful. Fair play, that's not a bad one now.
I made a dog's dinner of it, really.
Did,
I had to leave it settle a small bit, but
Mixing the beers now in the glass will be tasting rotten.
Be all right. Only a podcast.
So what have you got?
So this is, again, Kinigar. A Scraggy Bay IPA. And I love a bit of poetry, me, you know yourself. Yeah, it's country. So... Okay, interesting. So I'll just read the side of it again, right? So,
normally people read that as they're talking.
No. Lough Swilly's natural and cultural history is captured beautifully in the Irish and English place names that mark its coastal features. Beneath the Knockalla Hills lies Scraggy Bay, giving us a local maritime name for a style of beer with a great maritime past. And also, Scraggy Bay was not a character involving an assassination of the main character's mother back in my childhood. So therefore, I'm enjoying a Scraggy Bay.
This one's sitting with you different.
Yeah, but look, there's a rabbit on the front of the pirate ship on the front of this with his little telescope.
That's it, all of them have, like, I have a load of rabbits inside in the brewing factory, I presume, and this one here, one here is a bunch of snakes.
Did you ever think of writing poetry? Did you? A bunch of rabbits in the brewing factory can be your first one.
It's a good name for it, actually. Yeah. Did you know? Moving on quickly. Yeah. Did you know, Dave? It's actually a very good time at the moment to be working as a marketer.
I didn't, and I've been fucking working in it for long enough, to be honest with you. Why? What cutting edge research have you got for the listeners this morning?
This is my bit of input into the show.
Yeah, drive on.
Digital media and marketing recruiter Aspire over in the UK have chatted with Marketing Week as starting salaries for the marketing industry has gotten a significant boost as demand outstrips supply. So this is what you'll be telling all your students now when they're leaving now, that it's a great time to go into marketing because loads of jobs and less people with the skills apparently. There's a skills shortage.
That does make sense. I mean, the problem is that marketing is such a broad area. It's like when you so someone says you're an accountant and you're in tax, audit, whatever, financial, managerial, audit, loads of different types of accounting. But if you're in marketing, it's just marketing, as opposed to being a web developer, content creator, and all the different types of content creation that go with that, specialist in email marketing, digital advertising, graphic design, myriad of different things. So again, it depends on what's hot at a particular moment in time. Like, I mean, I was listening to TikTok actually, and
you were listening to TikTok.
I had it was on, it was there, whatever the story was. Kevin O'Leary was on, so I looked away. So Kevin O'Leary, who is one of the sharks on Shark Tank in the US, basically said that
you were watching saying I could do better than him.
I was watching it going, fuck it, I've got more hair than him. He's got more money than me, but I've got more hair.
Which
than
one
him.
would you trade?
That's it, yeah. But so what he basically said was that if you take 20 years ago, if you were a web developer, you were $200K out of college in the US because no one could develop websites, and if you could build an e-commerce website, you were just shit hot. Nowadays, Shopify, you could do it. Do you know what I mean? You still need a lot of skill to connect everything up and all that stuff. But it's
plenty
not
of YouTube videos to walk you through.
Exactly. It's not as difficult from a practical perspective. You're not coding from scratch, which you needed to know. Whereas nowadays, if you are someone either out of college, out of high school, or secondary school, or whatever school, and you are an artist in terms of being able to put together a TikTok video, which can communicate brand values in the space of 30 seconds, you are the most valuable person in the marketing ecosystem right now. Yes. You mightn't be in 6 months, but right now you are earning six figures, easy peasy.
I think it was Ryanair recently were hiring a TikTok marketing executive or whatever it was, and the application was send us in a TikTok video, create something and send it in to us. So that's how they're all. But like that was actually the way for the last while was people go on.
Now that you actually say that, sorry I'm interrupting you.
It's not well used to it now.
The Ryanair TikTok is superb.
Oh, unbelievable.
If anyone, so now we should do this, right? So before the end of this season or this series, if there is even
no, I was going to say, have we even talked about that? But go on
we
anyway.
Haven't. We'll do an awards night.
He has an exit plan already.
We'll do an awards night. Right. We can go through all the different things because Ryanair might get an award for the best TikTok.
Get Michael O'Leary down, we present him.
Exactly. He'll come down. He'll come to our studio in an undisclosed location.
And if anyone hears, by the way, that of a bit of noise coming from randomly outside the studio. There's a bit of commotion going on outside that we were told.
As our producer Owen said, the fire ambulance was speeding past there about 5 minutes ago, and there's a lot of lads with their hoses out outside, and they're putting out the burning building. But we're carrying on anyway. We're not stopping.
Apologies if there's any noise outside.
Yeah.
So going back to what we were actually talking about, between April 21 and 22, 3,500 vacancies in terms of marketing over in the UK, and that is the reason why jobs salaries are being boosted up, and we've even seen it here in terms of COVID has changed so many industries where people are changing jobs. I've had enough of that. No one can get a chef at the moment in Ireland. So people are changing careers. But the other side of it is, so many people are coming out of college, in my opinion, they're coming out of college and trying to do everything and trying to do all areas of marketing, whereas you can't. You have to specialize in certain areas.
I think kind of to a point, right? I think you need to specialize, but like
if you go into an SME at whereas one man band does kind of everything. You need to know the different areas, but you have to put in the specialities. When you go into more the corporate, the bigger level, the big brands, you will focus on your little area, and that's generally the way it works.
Unless you become what I am more so, but you would be as well to a certain would be a generalist strategy building. Do you know what I mean? So you tend to, as I find it, when you graduate or when you're younger, you tend to specialize, broaden out a bit, and then you really, really specialize, and then you broaden out even more when you get into managerial type role. That's generally how I see it happening anyway, which is interesting. But as I always say, look, marketing isn't for everyone because it's not logical, and a lot of people need logic and structure.
It's not for everyone, but everyone thinks they can do it.
Everyone thinks they can do it. Yeah, I'm sure anyone can do marketing. It's the classic line. But no, there's
I would have done it this way.
I would have done. I wouldn't have done what you did. It's like, well, the fucking data says differently, mate. But look, ultimately, again, it's like, look, I would always say to people, if you don't know what area you want to go in necessarily, but if you are a little bit creative, entrepreneurial, you are hardworking, or if you're very, very analytically minded, but you don't necessarily want to go into finance, it is a nice career to go down because, again, marketing is a blend of art and science. And if you've got the science side of it in terms of your ability to target, advertise, do your analysis on your facts, your figures, your research, or on the flip side of that, you're the creative mind, which is into kind of consumer psychology and building brands. It's a huge, huge area and huge opportunities.
Do you notice more of your students, I suppose, coming out of the university? Do you notice more of them going towards that SME side, or more so towards the bigger brand stuff? The more corporate.
I have so many students. There's always a split, a big split. Like I've got every year, there's guys going out setting up their own businesses, becoming entrepreneurs. Some of them have been very, very successful recently enough. I have one girl who graduated a number of years ago who, incredibly impressive, has just got a scholarship worth $250,000 to Georgetown University in the US, doing kind of policy making and stuff like that, which is just phenomenal altogether.
That's a weird one coming on the back of. I know now that's kind of an that, but that could have been probably something to do with her underdegree at that stage, was it? But that's kind of a total
not necessarily.
change.
No, it was kind of communications. That type of thing. So you end up going working for things like the UN or government or whatever the story is. So, but no, it is a little bit left to feel. But again, it comes from the whole kind of narrative.
Coming from your classes to working in the UN.
Telling you now. But and there's
I learned this in Dr. Alton's class.
And again, this guy's who I come across, and there's always the local awards nights and stuff like that, and they're working for SMEs, doing very, very well. You've people who go off and travel. But as I always say to people, don't necessarily look at the job, look at what you want to do yourself. So if you want to be someone who goes traveling in their early 20s, 30s, then pick a job that allows you to go travel. If you want to slave away, become an entrepreneur, then again, use marketing as a way to unlock your ability to become an entrepreneur. If you're just motivated by monetary value, go work for Aldi or Lidl. Go work for Aldi or Lidl. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of, do you know what I mean? There's different, for me, what you need to do is you need to conceptualize and craft what life you want and then work backwards and see where your career kind of fits into that. So it's great. No, but it is great though, because to see marketers who in a lot of instances typically do start off at a lower level in salary wise. Now as it grows quick, but if you're successful obviously, but to see that lower level salary scale kind of rise a little bit is great, because I think again marketers are value generators ultimately.
Well, it does, like it goes across the whole board, like all the different areas are going up, like marketing manager role, jumping from around the 39 starting figure to up around the 45. The marketing executive was 23 going up to 27. But what I did find interesting was the whole events marketing side of it, that the marketing events managers saw the biggest rise with their pay starting at 30 and that going up to 40, which is a 33% increase. The event side of it was what caught my attention, because realistically for the last couple of years there's been no events. So now
there's a
it's coming back,
recapturing of the experiential element. Yeah, absolutely. No, but again,
so next thing, there's a whole pool of these jobs now opening up. Like, so that's what they're saying here, that there's such a pool of people looking for these jobs. There's not many people. Demand's not, or the supply is not there. So there's going to be bidding wars. There's going to be people, headhunted.
But people don't even think of we both work with a company. Well, I still work there, but like you worked with them previously, which was sausages. One of the most important things about selling sausages is tastings.
Just give a bit more into that, will you, instead of just saying that.
Well, no, it's not. It's a sausage company. Like,
yes, Flynn's going sausage company in Cork City. Yeah.
So ultimately, if you go into an area or region where you are not known, going in on whatever a Thursday afternoon and giving tastings to, let's say, 50 people.
Yeah.
The chances are that if 50 of those people taste the product, if the product is good, 20 to 30 of them might buy it. They take that home. They're probably feeding, let's say, between 3 to 5 people each. So that's 100 people. And then of that 100, will 10 of them tell 10 other people? Do you know? So again, just that experience, and that's just a very, very silly, superficial example. But I mean, I have always said, and look, our backgrounds are predominantly digital marketing as a means to build brands, because that was just the up and coming thing when we got into marketing.
Train our hand at TikTok now.
Huh?
Trainer.
You're trying to do it with TikTok now. It's not going very fucking well, but yeah, you're giving it a go.
Wait till I have to see what I have tonight.
That's it, yeah. Oh, God. But ultimately, the point here is that you can never, ever forget the real world, tangible, touch, feel, physical experience. As I always say, you can swipe
left,
right or left, whatever it is. You can swipe right or left on Tinder all you want. There's nothing better than going out on the date.
Good stuff. So, anything else exciting for you this week, Dave?
Very exciting. So, do you know the way? So, these are two of my favorite things. Two things that I like to talk about, right? So, one, Jose, politicians annoy the shit out of me, particularly stupid politicians. So, this week, Rachel,
the majority of them,
yeah. So, this week, in the UK, Rachel McLean, who is a safeguarding minister in the Home Office, admitted that she thinks that a solution to the increased cost of living in the UK at the moment is for people to go and get better paid jobs. No shit, Sherlock. They never thought of that kind of a thing. So again,
that's like Eamon Ryan here when he told people to, what was it? Drives. Oh yeah, well, that was another one. A drive slower to save fuel, and then he said plant the seeds so we have
in the middle of a global pandemic, and if we can't get in anything, then we're going to basically grow our own whole vegetables. Population. But so there was that. And by the way, last week we did the Apple quiz, which you were pathetic at and you lost, and you owe me a nice quiz. Yeah. So this week I put together another quiz.
This is going to be your thing now each week, is it?
Yeah, I'm going to put together a quiz. So this quiz is what I very, very appropriately called Boris or Bush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quote and you've got to tell me whether it was George Bush or Boris Johnson said the quote, right? So really, really highbrow stuff here on Social Antics this week. I was in hysterics. You're proud of this one, aren't you? I was in hysterics looking this later on. Now, the only issue is that I put down the quotes and I forgot to put down who actually said the quote. So I'm doing this by memory. That's okay. So
get Google out their own, will you?
So who said, rarely is the question asked, is our children learning?
Yeah, that was Mr. Bush. Yeah, he did. He said that, yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah.
You are absolutely spot on.
This whole dead silence thing is not good. Like,
I find this way too much funny. Anyway, way too much funny.
Way too much funny, yeah. I know who said that one.
Well, who said one of the great things about books is sometimes there are some fantastic pictures in them.
It sounds like something Bush would say, but just for this, I'll say Boris.
You're wrong. It's Bush.
It was Bush, yeah.
Should have went with Bush. So, who said voting for my party will cause your wife to have bigger breasts and increase your chances of owning a BMW M3?
That's definitely Boris.
That is Boris. Classic Boris. He got elected.
The most powerful lads in the world. Like.
Oh, incredible. So, this might be a bit of a giveaway, but this was a quote that one of our esteemed global leaders said about Hillary Clinton.
Trump.
She's got dyed blonde hair and pouty lips and a steely blue stare, like a sadistic nurse in a mental hospital.
What's funnier isn't it? Like Bill Clinton and George Bush, they're actually good friends, like, aren't they?
Bill Clinton and George Bush are good friends. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Remember what you said about her?
Exactly. So
Go on, next. What? Oh, Bush then.
No, it was Boris.
Oh, was it?
It was Boris, yeah.
Oh.
One for Boris.
One for
See,
Boris.
that's what you said.
Yeah.
See, they're good friends. Wouldn't mock his woman.
Go on.
So, no, I won't give you that one. I'll do that because that'll end on a serious point.
He'd be shite as a game show presenter, wouldn't he?
I need a jingle.
What?
I
Go
need
on,
a jingle, and I need a game show board behind me.
I want to vote in and say that Bill Clinton would probably be the first to mock Hillary if I was a betting.
to the listeners there, our producer there coming in with, yes, Bill Clinton would actually take the piss out of his wife given the opportunity. So who said, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, you can't get fooled again."
That's definitely George Bush.
George Bush, yeah, you're absolutely spot on. And the last one, and this is just to wrap up because he's just a fucking prick, is who said that it was absolutely ridiculous that people should choose to walk around like letterboxes.
Sounds like something like Boris would say.
Boris.
Yeah.
Boris and talking about Muslim women because he is a very, very good leader, as you would fucking expect from something like him.
There should be vetting processes
There
for
should
some
be
of
a
these.
vetting. Yeah, there's some jobs that one should have qualifications for, and
It's like marketing.
Prime
Everyone
Minister,
thinks they can do it.
everything thinks they could do it, but they can't. Yeah, there he might be gone soon enough.
So that's everything for this week.
That was. Oh, do you not? We're just ending on the quiz.
We're ending on that. That's it, yeah. End on a highlight.
So, yeah, fair enough.
End on a good note. So yeah, enjoyed the
To
beers
be honest
this
with you, I got my favorite part of the whole quiz was the name. I thought Boris or Bush was a good name for a
Boris
quiz.
or Bush. So thanks again for everyone for listening. With myself, Dave, our producer, Owen, and we'll see you again next week.
Talk to you later.
Boris or Bush.